Today we're going to turn an old frame into a fun and unique corkboard that you'd be proud to hang anywhere. If you want to have text in your design, start by planning that out first. In this case, I'm using IOD's Farmhand stamp set. I place the individual letters stamp side down for legibility and tweak the placement until I'm satisfied. Having 2 or even 3 stamp sets does make this easier, as you'll then have multiples of the letters, but it's not necessary. With a thin mount, I pick up the letters, and using the thin mount's grid lines, I make sure everything is even and straight. I'm marking the center points on the corkboard so that I can set up my text right in the center. Once everything is all measured out, it's time to add your ink. I'm using IOD ink in black in this case, and though it looks like I'm rubbing the ink across the stamp in this fast motion, I'm actually just tapping it on there. You don't want to rub your ink pad across your stamps. When I'm stamping on flat surfaces, I use a brayer to make sure that the pressure is even across the stamp so you get a good impression. Take a quick peek and make sure that the impression is good and clear. Just make sure that you're supporting your stamp so it doesn't shift. I almost forgot here to do a quick stamp on a plain piece of newsprint. This helps if you want to make a mask out of this stamp when you want to add things around it. It's a good thing to do before you pull all your stamps off your thin mount. Having 3 stamp sets going here still didn't give me enough S's, so I'm just individually stamping in those missing S's and it'll be good as new. Here I've kind of planned out what I wanted to do with the florals. I'm using IOD's Peonies stamp. I've just got them all kind of layered on top of each other right now, so I'll be pulling those out and just doing the flowers first. My camera angle here is a little sad, but what I've done is I've mixed a little bit of IOD's Tomotto ink with their mixing white to make it a little more pinky, and I'm just rolling it on with a brayer. So I went with a little simpler design. I've grabbed the masks for the peonies and you can see I've got them applied over the flowers right now. And now I'm looking for the H, the mask in the Farmhand stamp set. There it is. Sometimes I just use a little piece of low-tack painter's tape to hold my masks in place so I don't have to worry about them shifting around all the time. Now we'll just pick up those leaves and put some green ink. We're using IOD's New Grass. As I started applying the ink, I noticed that my stamp pad was a little dry, so I'm just going to quickly add some more and spread it around, and we are good to go. Again, I know it looks like I'm rubbing the ink pad over the stamps, but I'm not. I'm just lightly tapping it on there to apply the ink. This is why these masks are so awesome. Without the masks there, the green would have been all over the flowers and it just would have made it look muddy and yucky. Again, I apologize for my terrible camera angle, but what I'm doing now is I've just sprayed the ink that I had left on my little tray with some water. And I'm just grabbing a paintbrush and I am applying it just lightly here and there inside the flowers to give it some color. Couple drops of green ink and I spray some water, and I don't know what happens, but it makes a mess. So I dip my brush in water and really work it, and I finally get it to work. And I do the same thing to color in all the leaves. I'm pretty sure you could use any kind of paint or ink pens or anything else to do this. I just had this ink sitting here, so I figured I'd give it a go, and it worked perfectly fine. Time for the frame to get some love. I'm using DIY paint in white Swan, and I'm just putting a good solid coat over the whole piece. Once that first coat dried, I did go back and do some touch-ups to make sure I had full coverage on the whole frame. DIY's clear wax is my sealer of choice for this project. I applied it to the whole frame and wiped off all the excess. For a little bit of antiquing, I decided to use DIY's Decrepit dust for this project. I like the soft, subtle way it sticks in those little nooks and crannies. Just apply the dust and I go back over it with my wax brush. It helps to smooth everything around and it really gives you a nice soft look. I want this to be a little bit softer looking yet, so I'm adding some more clear wax over top to blend it. I never dip my brush into the wax pot once I start using a Decrepit dust or a pigmented wax, as it'll just make your wax pot kind of gross looking. So I just apply it with a little spatula. Once I get the look that I want, I just go over the whole thing with a soft microfiber cloth to wipe off any excess wax. I still wanted to add a little bit of a pop of something to this frame, so I'm using DIY's Pennies from Heaven copper patina, and I'm just dipping my finger in it and rubbing it on the high points on the frame. It just adds a little bit of oomph. There you have it. Just one example of what can be done to a boring old frame and corkboard. If you'd like to create your very own corkboard, kits are available at sentimentalsalvage.ca.